Recently, this interview dropped, and it has really captured a lot of people's attention. There have been multiple reaction or response videos made, just taking it and commenting on it. You could scroll through a lot of these, and you see a lot of people pointing out how this guy is ending the world, how he's such an evil man. And I was obviously curious about this because a lot of these videos came up in my recommended and I watched them. And then I found out there was this original interview and I decided to watch it. Now, I'm not going to speak on this in terms of true good versus evil, as I don't think that's entirely relevant. At the end of the day, I think most people who are interpreting the information that Peter Thiel is saying are not coming at it with the correct perspective. When it comes to the human condition, most humans can't even plan their week properly, let alone plan the next month properly, and that's just for their own life. So when we're talking about the future and understanding trajectories and where humanity as a collective group is headed, there's no way that people are going to have a good grasp of that. There's no way. Because if you can't even know how to buy groceries and plan them properly for a week or a month, etc., how are you going to be able to calculate what a collective group of multiple different consciences are going to be doing in the next decade or so? So I think framing it from good or evil, we're going to have to debunk that immediately. I think it's more about what is or is not. And the truth is, mass surveillance is here. The era of anonymity, privacy, is over. You don't have privacy anymore. And those who are doing the brunt work to be VPN crazy may temporarily be able to have privacy, but the truth is that in the fairly near future, privacy won't exist. Now, if you look up anything about Peter Thiel or Palantir, it's a bunch of negative stuff. I have not heard of any single person say anything good about any of this stuff. It's a bunch of horrible information. I saw this video, which I thought was striking. Shredding influencers for Palantir shilling. Nobody's shilling this company. This is just YouTube, but when you look them up, you are bombarded with a bunch of very negative videos, millions of views, talking about this man. There's a lot to unpack, though. And remember, we're talking about the future. We're not having a commentary about what's most ethical to the present. And I think that's a very critical point to point out, especially with what I said first. We are not talking about the present. The world and the way people comprehend the world is incredibly poor. To further my point about being able to properly map out and plan groceries, how many people do you know who can say, this is the food I eat during a week, this is exactly how much food I need, I know how much I need to buy, and then can follow through with that and live and function on a very strict and proper schedule? Probably just me. I've never met anybody who operates that organized. And the truth is, we're going to be dealing with scarcity. And there's so much waste, so much food gets thrown out through the current food system. And that's going to have to be accountable. And so, yeah, if you had a system where everything's tracked, you're going to need to be held accountable. When you buy too much food stupidly and throw it out, Peter Thiel's going to be right there with a camera on the trash can. And you're going to get a consequence. Now, how is this bad for society again? How is that a bad thing? Because I think it comes down to people wanting to be mediocre, having zero comprehension of anything other than clinging to past ideals that are no longer relevant. We are not living in this booming golden age. We have to think about scarcity. We have to think about efficiency and accountability. And I think a lot of people who have been born pretty much any time really from the 80s to the 2010s has not known that. We've lived and interacted with technology where there's no accountability at all. If you're socializing with someone on Discord, on Instagram, and something they say you don't like, block them. You don't have to give the person closure. You're not really required to do anything. And a lot of times that person can just completely vanish out of your life. How is that creating a good society? With a bunch of anonymous people running around doing what they please and not being held accountable for it. Why is this okay? Why is it such a problem to implement tracking that would ensure that people couldn't get away with a lot of the bad stuff that goes on the internet? Where do we go as a society from here? You know, there never really was a point where people were more free than right now. In the past, there wasn't technology, but you had accountability in the form of you lived in a neighborhood and people were fairly kind to each other, but there were still social expectations. It wasn't like there was no social expectation and you could just get away with whatever you wanted. That is a very modern and I believe temporary thing that has occurred through the past couple decades. You could not get away with as much as you have been for the past few decades at any other point really in human history, because you would have been held accountable by your community or your tribe. And you couldn't block people because you lived with them. So if you didn't like someone, you just had to deal with it. You didn't just get to block people and live in some fantasy. And so there's been this illusionary modern belief that there's a magic in free will and somebody choosing to be with somebody despite all these hurdles. And that's magical and it's special. And that it would be superficial to implement a system like I'm describing because then it would be forced. And that's, again, a fantasy. It's a romanticizing of that behavior that was not apparent for most of humanity. Technology has separated us more than ever. It's given people an ability to have different personas, to not have to be real, to be able to be fake, to be able to be mean, rude, and have no accountability for it. It has turned us into monsters because people don't care. And that kind of gets to my culminating point. Nobody cares. These videos come out. They get a lot of views. Do you think anybody's doing anything after they watch this video? What will we do? Are you going to go tell your friend to stop using TikTok because it's the ushering in of mass surveillance? You can go ahead and try to do that, but do you think your friend's going to listen? No. Nobody listens. People are deeply addicted to these platforms. Mass surveillance is here. You volunteer to use these platforms, which use AI and an algorithm to track all your interests. And then it's sold to companies who advertise products to you. And who knows who else has access to the information. And people willingly submitted to it. It's too late. It is so far past any super happy, oh, we're going to resist all this mass surveillance and we're really going to stand up to these people. No. It's already here. That's the whole point, and that's why I think he's saying the things he's saying now, because he's hoping that even if it's very little, some people are going to have the right perspective with this stuff. Because it's all about perspective. Do we really think that if Peter Thiel decided to not make PayPal, that somebody else wouldn't have done it? You think no human would have ever started that? Do you think if Peter Thiel thought, oh, I don't think this is ethical, I'm not going to make PayPal, don't you think somebody else would have done it? Well, to cut to the chase, there were other people at the time doing it. Elon Musk was working on X.com back in the early 2000s. And so if Peter Thiel had decided, oh, this isn't moral, I'm not going to do it, then Elon would have basically come out with the same product anyway. Palantir. Let's say Peter Thiel goes, oh, this is evil, I'm not going to make it. Okay. Do you really think that no other human would come along at some point and create this? These things are inevitable. This is an inevitable progression of humanity. AI is not getting stopped. Mark my words. I am sure I will be vindicated of this. It's here. It's here to stay. It didn't matter whether it was Peter Thiel or somebody else. It's just that obviously Peter Thiel had the correct foresight. But even if he would have thought, oh, I'm going to do what's right for humanity, I'm not going to do this, at some point somebody else would have came along and done the same thing. So is it really a matter of good versus evil? Or is it just a matter of human destiny and then it is what it is? What are we doing making all these videos? Now, the next thing is, again, I guess I'm going to reiterate my previous point. 1.9 million views. I bet a lot of people watched this. I think I did too, actually. And do you think they did anything afterwards? Do you think, again, they shared it with all their friends? Or do you think they watched it, got shook, and then did nothing? Do you think it's people who were probably Democrats and then they were already Democrats and then they watched this video? Is it changing minds? Is it really mattering to anybody? Probably not. But that's the irony of the system we live in. I can agree that it's completely possible that the changes him and this company are making to society are probably going to hurt a lot of people. That's not what this video is about. It's not about trying to explain that away. It's trying to show that it's inevitable. We're living in this society where people are a mess, people are consumed by vices, and have very little self-control. Everybody's given into this stuff. Most people have. We have internet right now where this video is 1.9 million views. It could have tens of millions of views. But what are people watching instead? If he gets away with what he's trying to do, it's just going to be people's fault. And it's people's fault that this is even happening in the first place. Because it's been decades of voting, and I don't know, certain policies obviously got implemented that failed to restrict people like this. If you really cared, if people really cared, this wouldn't even be happening. The world would look so much different if people really cared. But I think at the end of the day, this is just capitalizing on normal stuff. Clickbaity titles. Oh, here's what's going on here. And sure, it sounds scary if you don't have the perspective. If you don't know that AI is here to stay. If you don't know that whether Trump or Kamala won, it was a vote for AI either way. Sure, I guess, admittedly, Trump's administration is more accelerationist on the issue. Peter Thiel is obviously directly tied to Trump, but if you look into it, Kamala also has ties with people who are working for her in her campaign with AI. This stuff is happening. There's no resisting it. I don't know how else you can create an accountable society, but people don't even realize that. I assume because it's just too big of a concept to wrap their heads around. How can you let what's been going on continue to go on? Why do you think health insurance has gotten so high? It's because people are living incredibly unhealthy. And so it puts strain on the system. More people are going to the hospital for preventable reasons than ever. More people are on medication than ever. People are living super unhealthy lives. It's chaos. There's no rules, and there's no accountability for it. What do I get as a reward for taking care of myself? For walking 5 to 6 miles a day? For keeping a very extremely consistent sleep schedule? I get nothing. I have to pay the same health insurance rate as everybody else. Do I get a reward for following the speed limit, driving very carefully and cautiously? Nope. I pay the same insurance rate as somebody else who drives like a maniac. How do you solve these issues? There's only one solution. And maybe we wouldn't even need to think about this stuff if humans were caring and accountable, but they're clearly not. So I think people need to comprehend the era we're going into, what it means to care about pushing humans to the limit. Why should we not? I just don't understand why people want to settle for the mediocre, for the mundane. Is that really all people have aspirations for? I think that's another reason why people don't like what he's doing. I absolutely have always wanted to see humanity at its best. And I guess that's why the message resonates with me. And because I think I've been thinking about the future for a long time anyway. And that's how it's going to be in the future. We'll all have trackers that can tell our health and our performance. It'll be very easy for the right people to be employed in the right jobs. You know how it is now? There's so much emotion at the workplace. There's people who probably shouldn't be in positions that another person in the company might be more qualified for, but due to favoritism or social prestige, or because they made the right joke at the right time, or because they take care of their appearance, people reward that. But are positions based on true skill and ability? No. There's so much lost potential with humanity, and AI is going to completely unlock that. An employer is going to know exactly who's best for their job position, period. And that person will be allocated to that position. Everything will start to make sense because things don't make sense now. There's so much noise, chaos, junk. And then when it comes to work and voting, people could care less. I mean, who votes and who's actually informed about this stuff? These videos are not changing minds. Most people are just totally oblivious to Palantir. They don't know who Peter Thiel is. Anybody I've asked does not know who Peter Thiel is. So I just think whatever's happening, for the better or worse, I don't think it's about good or evil. I think it's about what is. And what is that this is the natural cycle of humanity, and that the limitation comes down to human psychology. It is not his fault. It's not anybody's fault, really, what's happening. And it's true. I think we're going through a test period. I think a lot of people are going to be hurt. I do. And I don't think the answer is just about who wins and which policies are put into place, because rich people are not necessarily doing well either. So I don't even think it's a money thing. I mean, everybody's making it about money because of how stressful it is to pay bills, and that's fair. But if anything, there's a lot of rich people who are also not really accountable, mentally unaware, mentally unhealthy. It's the same thing, right? I don't think it has to do with money. Even rich people aren't having kids anymore. It's not just poor people. It's not just poor people who are depressed. Something is wrong. The way humans are living is wrong. And apparently, we can't figure out what to do. So yes, I think the ushering in of mass surveillance and having AI reorganize things properly and correctly is just what will happen. It's inevitable. It doesn't matter who you vote for. People are not smart enough to overcome this. It's not going to happen. It's over. Don't start making these videos and acting like you're special for pointing this all out. You don't understand the future and what the future is going to look like. It's the only way to make things work. It's the only way to make things fair. And what's interesting is, in some ways, maybe you could argue it's going to, well, it'll make things more unequal, but I think more fair. So AI is like a mirror. It reflects the user who interacts with it. So if somebody's dumb, AI does not make them smart. I think this is something I used to think. I used to think when Neuralink would come out, you get your brain chipped, and now you can just download info. If you wanted to learn a language, you can just download it. And I thought it would equalize things. It would make people who were previously not capable. But But I'm realizing recently I have a better grasp of the future, and it's that inequality will be exacerbated. People who are already smart are going to be able to further their intelligence and cognitive ability through AI and eventually through brain chips. Because as is right now, we've had Google. We now have AI, which is basically a superior version of Google when it comes to learning. And nobody's using it properly. It might only be 10% of the population. The rest of people are just messing around with AI with frivolous things. I don't even think most people, there's not really enough time for me to get into everything in one video, but there's so much inefficiency in the way humans function. It's insane. It is actually, it's so many things are emotional. They're inefficient. They're wastes. They're waste of time. They don't go towards making things better for other people. Eating out, fast food, totally inefficient. Doesn't make any sense. It's both less convenient, worse for the environment, and costs more. If you buy groceries and store stuff in a fridge, that is easier. It's less work. It just takes planning. And if you think about the gas to drive to McDonald's, the wear that puts on your car, sitting in the drive-thru, idling a car, not good for the car. Just to pay someone minimum wage to make you junk food. Why does that make any sense? Why should people not be held accountable for that? Society obviously needs to change. We know this, and we've known it for decades, and we're not seeing progress. We're seeing stagnation. And it's coming to a front. You're starting to see scarcity matter. And people are going to get wiped out. And I don't know if I agree with that entirely. I care about other people. And it's kind of sad, right? But I think this is the culminating issue. And it may be hard to understand, but I think everybody's depth of care is completely different. Some people are very conscientious and very aware of things. Other people aren't. I think that's why we're even in the crises that we're in, is because too many people haven't cared and have had such extreme apathy and nihilism for so long that it's led to this stuff. It's led to the point where we need something to rein it all in. We need surveillance. We need people to be held accountable for what they say and do. And I see no other way to implement that at this point. So he's right. I think most of the things he said, I just think it's correct. Now I'm not saying it's kind. I don't know that, like I said, I mean, people are probably going to get hurt, but this is what it takes to really move into the future. There's so much mess and waste and chaos. There's traffic jams. That puts way more wear and tear on the car. It's way worse for the environment. Burns way more fuel. And we're not solving it. We're just not doing anything about it. Answers are not came up with. AI is going to force this stuff to happen. And yeah, some people are going to get left behind, but I have a feeling, at least for me, AI has been such a gift. It's something that takes a lot of my ideas, which you can probably tell by the way I'm talking in this video, tend to be a bit sporadic, hard hitting, but sporadic and not structured the best way necessarily. But I'm going to be able to take this video, plug it into a transcript, paste it into GPT, and it's going to be able to come up with just such a clean, good essay. That's crazy to me. It's something that is so helpful to me, and it's going to further what I'm capable of. So I know why people are upset or scared, because we're moving into a future where it's more accountable. You have to be accountable for things. You're not going to get away with being lazy. Everybody basically has to be a creator or have some type of intellectual prowess or generation. And technical skills not going to matter as much. It's the people who are conceptual who are going to win. It's the people who are really good at coming up with lots of things and being able to feed it and mirror it into an AI that can amplify that. But that's why nobody likes it, because it's not beneficial to most people. Most people just want to eat, sleep, and consume content, and not this kind of content. People are not going on YouTube and watching this stuff. You think this is what people watch? It's not. And that's the culminating point. Whatever happens to humanity, humanity deserves. And whatever happens to the lower and middle class, it's been coming. They've had it coming to them. This didn't happen overnight. This has happened over the course of decades. Income inequality, wealth inequality. Democracy is not working. Something happened. It doesn't make any sense. And this is coming from someone where I grew up in the 2000s. I grew up in the 2010s. That made sense to me. I thought that was the future we were going to see. We watched movies like WALL-E. I was always kind of aware of that stuff. I thought people would have more efficient cars and everything would progress and work out. But no, people make faster cars that burn more fuel, aren't safe, put a lot more wear on the road, make things more dangerous. Whatever happened isn't working. It's not the future that was seen, and there has absolutely been so much stagnation. There's been almost no progress in anything for over 10 years now, and that's obviously a problem. And so the visionaries, like Peter Thiel, may sound scary, may be cold, but are they really saying anything that isn't true? Do we really think, even with socialism, that most people would be able to get out of their depression? I'm not sure. Because again, it doesn't seem to matter about money. It seems like people are malnourished, people are not exercising, people are not sleeping right. It's all a mess. But some of us are. And so I think it's a turning point in humanity. And if people don't make it, I don't know. I mean, I just don't understand what we're supposed to do. I think there's a natural cycle to things. And I want to be compassionate. I want to help people. But the truth is, people are not seeking help. People don't watch these videos. People are not that into politics. Even people who are really poor, spend their time messing around. I'm assuming most people who vote are probably property owners and richer people. I don't even think lower income people vote that actively. So whatever's happening, how is it not fair and justified? And even if I obviously understand there's been a lot of rich people who have paid off certain politicians and gotten it to the point it's at. Yeah, that's fair. Manipulation through advertising and misleading candidates and things like that. But it all comes back to the limitation of human psychology. And that is the result of where we're at. So it's coming. And it's already here. But it's coming. An era of accountability where it's actually going to matter if you do something wrong. And surveillance and privacy won't exist. Does that make me evil for stating the obvious too?